Hello my dear friends, and welcome back to another Star Wars video. So, on the channel, mainly in 2022 but a couple of times since, I've spent a considerable amount of time discussing the original plans for Obi-Wan Kenobi, how what became a TV show for Disney Plus was originally conceptualized to be a movie trilogy for the big screen, while a brand new interview with screenwriter Stuart Beattie on Star Wars Theories channel has given us some more reveals. But I just wanted to share my thoughts about some of this, and also dive into a big question fans still have about the relationship between Obi-Wan and Darth Vader, how a mystery from Return of the Jedi was addressed in the show, but would have been answered differently if it was a movie. So there is a lot to discuss. Before we dive into it though, my dear friends, if you've not done so already, please be sure to hit the big subscribe button down below. Also, if you would like access to content not found here on YouTube, while also supporting what I do, check out the link to our Patreon page in the description down below. But no more jibber jabber, let's dive straight in. So just to give you a bit more context, well before Obi-Wan Kenobi became the series we know it to be today, a series which should have been more impressive and true to the classic characters than it was, the original idea at Lucasfilm was to tell the story in the form of a movie. For years, the Obi-Wan Kenobi feature film was in development, but nothing ever came to be because Solo a Star Wars story failed so badly, and it basically made Lucasfilm reconsider the idea of a bunch of spin-off movies. That said, many of the original ideas from the script were adapted for the recent show. They became the backbone of the story, but the original had tons of differences. In June of 2022, speaking with The Direct, Stuart Beattie talked about his ideas for the Kenobi film. This man is very passionate about Star Wars and very passionate about the character of Kenobi himself. He's always said, and this was reiterated in his most recent appearance, that his primary objective was to fill the gaps between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope, the years of exile Obi-Wan has on Tatooine, and to show how Obi-Wan becomes Ben. And in there, the focus was Luke. And you know, he's always sounded a bit disappointed that his movies didn't come to fruition, primarily because the arc was 3 stages, 3 separate movies. As he words it, 3 different evolutions the character has to go through to become Ben. The first stage, the first movie which was adapted to be the majority of the Disney Plus show, was quote, surrender to the will of the Force, reconnecting with the Force after the devastation of Order 66, after the shock of losing his friend and being an exiled Jedi. The way it's worded in the interview is pretty shocking. He is such a big Star Wars fan and it's just so sad we didn't get his version. To paraphrase, he says at the start of the movie, Obi-Wan is feeling guilt. Guilt for Anakin's turn to the dark side, by extension guilt for the rise of the Empire, and he's projecting that guilt onto Luke. He's hyper-focused on wanting to train Luke from the age of 4 years old. But over the course of the movie, after the Empire arrives on Tatooine, Obi-Wan, who's left Commander Cody in charge of matters on the desert world, leaves, goes to a transportation hub, ends up in the wrong place, and gets caught up with a group of force-wielding refugees, who show Obi-Wan there is no good in projecting his own perceived failures onto Luke. Beattie's version shows a sequence where Obi-Wan is trying to test Luke's force abilities. With a ball, Obi-Wan tells Luke to take it out of his hands without touching it, but by pushing Luke too far and insisting, Luke ends up tapping into the dark side and the ball goes flying. Obi-Wan only remembers this later in the movie. It's a very interesting arc. Beattie also says if they were to make a second season, he would love the opportunity to jump on that. I think that should excite fans, based on what we've heard. And on the subject of Obi-Wan's visions, there was going to be a sequence on Mustafar where Obi-Wan imagines himself fighting Luke, not Anakin. In this case it would have been a de-aged Mark Hamill. Obi-Wan worried that by protecting Luke and ensuring one day he is trained to become the New Hope, he was dooming the boy to the same fate as his father. Something which Uncle Owen worried about. And this latter part, Owen warning Obi-Wan, does take place in the show, but we never saw Kenobi's vision on Mustafar against Luke. The screenwriter also revealed some other major differences. In his version of events, the script was very dark. Instead of being redeemed, Reva dies. She lies to Vader and tells him she's killed Kenobi. Darth Vader, in a fit of rage, kills Reva. And, in the fight between Vader and Obi-Wan, Vader believes he's killed Kenobi. BT also describes a phenomenal opening sequence to the movie, where we see Vader at the height of his power, killing 5 Jedi. That would have been insane. There are some similarities. For instance, even in his version, Vader and Kenobi have to fight. A lot of fans criticize the Kenobi series for breaking canon, saying there was no confrontation between the two characters between episodes 3 and 4. They say that when Vader is talking about the last time they met, he's referring to the duel on Mustafar. When I left you, I was but the learner. Now I am the master. But BT insisted. One line from the original trilogy implies they did meet in between. When Vader tells Luke, after Luke surrenders himself, Obi-Wan once thought as you do. And Stuart says, as an audience we're sat there thinking, well, when did Obi-Wan really try to convince Anakin to turn back to the light? Because on Mustafar, Obi-Wan is confrontational and doesn't put forward a convincing appeal to redeem Anakin back to the light. He tries to reason with him, pledging his allegiance to democracy and the Republic, but he never really says, Anakin, it's not too late. Come with me, I believe in you. There's never a moment you feel like he's encouraging his friend. So to BT's mind, this duel had to happen, and Kenobi does apologize. In the final episode of the Disney Plus show, in Part 6, Obi-Wan says, I'm sorry, Anakin, for all of it. It's an emotional moment, but some disagree. Nick Gillard, stunt coordinator on the prequel trilogy, once argued Obi-Wan on Mustafar was trying to reach out to Anakin. Here's what he said. The way I saw that fight was like having a fight with your girlfriend, that she's just lost it, that she's coming at you with everything she's got, so you try to defend her as long as you can until she breaks down. Then you can give her a cuddle. The ruthless look on Hayden's face, the you can't beat me master attitude, said it all. In the fight, Anakin knows Obi-Wan is not going to kill him. Anakin thinks Obi-Wan is having an affair, so in a sense, emotionally, he's already gone to the dark side. For Obi-Wan, it's about trying to absorb it long enough that he can get him back. But just like the Kenobi show, the Kenobi trilogy would have had a very similar emotional confrontation. Now, I want to give you a very interesting version of these events. The other day, if you recall, I made a video about Mace Windu versus Palpatine in the Revenge of the Sith novelization. If you missed that video, I really urge you to go check it out. Well, once again in the book, a different scene, Obi-Wan versus Anakin on Mustafar, is different to the movie. The dialogue is very different. Matthew Stover puts emphasis on Obi-Wan and Anakin still having love for one another, and that's what tears Anakin apart, deep inside. Here's how it goes. Obi-Wan glared at his best friend. He knelt beside Padme, unconscious. He felt for a pulse. It was thin and erratic. Anakin, what have you done? In the Force, Anakin burns like a fusion torch. You turned her against me. Obi-Wan looked again at the best friend he had ever had. You've done that yourself. Anakin then says, I'll give you a chance, Obi-Wan. For old time's sake, walk away. If only I could, Kenobi replies. Retire, meditate. That's what you like to do, isn't it? You don't have to fight for peace anymore, because peace is here. My empire is peace. Your new empire, Obi-Wan replies. It will never have peace, Anakin. It was founded on treachery and innocent blood. Don't make me kill you, Obi-Wan. If you're not with me, then you're against me. Anakin, only a Sith deals in absolutes. The truth is never black and white, you know that. He rose, spreading empty hands. Let me take Padme to the Medicenter. She's hurt, Anakin. She needs attention. So Obi-Wan is reluctant to even use his lightsaber in this version. Anakin, now Vader, states, No, she stays. You don't get to take her anywhere, Obi-Wan. You don't get to touch her. Do you understand? It's your fault. All of it. You made her betray me. Anakin, don't do this. Anakin's hands sprouted a bar of blue plasma. Obi-Wan was heartbroken, and he sighs. He brought out his own lightsaber, angled it before Anakin. I will do what I must. Obi-Wan met him. Blue blades crossed, and the volcano above echoed their lightning with a shout of fire. But, as you can see, my dear friends, there was a bit more of an attempt for Obi-Wan in the book to kind of reach out to his friend, the emphasis on brokenheartedness, the emphasis on Obi-Wan trying to reason and call his friend back to the light. Anakin wasn't just his friend and apprentice, he was basically his brother. That's why at the end he says, You are my brother, Anakin. I loved you. So very interesting stuff. I think the movie would have been extremely different to the Kenobi series, would have been more fleshed out, would have taken more time to get Kenobi from point A to point B. I would have been interested to see more Qui-Gon stuff. But how do you guys feel about it? Now that we're 2 years on, how do you feel about the show? Would you have enjoyed the movie based on the information in this video, interviews, other sources we've spoken about? Let me know down below. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please be sure to give me a big fat thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, check me out on socials, check out our Patreon page, and I'll see you in the next video. May the Force be with you, always.